It is not the quantity, but the quality that counts sometimes. That was the case last night with Ron Artest's final bucket in Game 5 between the Suns and Lakers. That bank shot you just saw completed a 2-for-9 shooting night. But as the game winner, you see what I mean about quality for Artest. LA with a 3-2 series lead now, things shifting back to Phoenix for Game 6 on Saturday. For some Lakers perspective, we bring in John Ireland now, sideline reporter for KCAL TV and co-host of Mason and Ireland on ESPN Radio in LA. John, silent for much of this series, Ron Artest got the two most important points last night for this team. We know LA's been here before, but they needed this game. How much of a sense of relief did you sense in the club afterwards?
Huge, Dana, and keep in mind they had an 18-point lead before the Suns came back, and this is a Suns team that did pretty much whatever they wanted to do in Game 4, so the fact that they were charging in Game 5 probably meant you didn't want to go overtime. And when you look at that play at the end of the game, the one you guys are showing now, the one thing that stands out is that Artest was the only one moving after Kobe shot the ball. It's something that I think high school and college coaches are going to show their teams for years. He stormed through the middle like a bull in a china shop. And you mentioned he was 1 of 8 before then, and he really saved the day. And just 2 minutes earlier, he had taken 2 bad jump shots, and the crowd was actually booing him. So I've never seen a guy go from GOAT to hero as fast as he did last night.
Yeah, there were some people at the time that were probably like, why is Artest on the floor? And it's a good thing that he obviously was. I mentioned Kobe's stat line earlier. He had missed that 3 at the end, but again, he was 1 assist away from a triple-double, keeps putting up these numbers. This time he got some help from his teammates, who stood out as possibly another MVP along the Kobe lines.
Derek Fisher with a capital D, Dana. You know, Fish is, at his age, at 35 years of age, is one of those guys that on my radio show, I get 3-4 calls a day saying, bench him, he's too old, he can't guard the other team's point guard, he's no good. And last night, he went toe-to-toe with Steve Nash for most of the night. Nash had 29 points, but Fisher had 22 and made several big shots and several key plays defensively down the stretch. They don't win that game without Fisher. They obviously don't win that game without Kobe. And as you saw, believe it or not, even though he was 1 of 8, they don't win it without Ron Artest,
yes.
Which I can't believe I'm saying.
As I said, 2 of the most important points out there. LA had that 18-point lead. You mentioned it, I did, and the Suns got back into the game yet again. So what's the concern for the Lakers heading into Game 6?
That their bench, the Phoenix bench, plays much better at home than they do on the road. You saw what happened last night. This is a streaky team, Dana. You don't want to play them in a Game 7 unless you absolutely have to. Having said that, I think there's a really good possibility we're going to have a Game 7. Phoenix was very close to winning that game last night, and they've been very, very good at home. I think that the Suns are pretty confident going back to Phoenix, even though they lost. I mean, I think if you're Phoenix, you look at that game and say, wow, we came from 18 down. Artest doesn't run through there and make that super play, and we're still playing. I think Phoenix is going to be very confident on Saturday, and it's a real possibility that we're going to have another game on Monday. The challenge for the Lakers is to try and find a way to win a game in Phoenix, and they haven't been close yet.
I'll tell you this much, it'll certainly make my Memorial Day even better. John, thank you. We appreciate it.
Dana, have a great show. See you soon.
Thank you. And little stat to throw at you here. When the Lakers have been tied at 2 apiece in a best-of-7 series, LA has gone on to win the series 15 straight times when they have won Game 5, as they did last night. For some Suns talk now, let's head over to Michelle.
Well, of course, Dana, the Suns did everything they could to beat the Lakers last night. Considering the extensive archive of last-second heroics by the Lakers over the years, Phoenix understood what was at stake. Don't leave Kobe. Their defense stellar as he attempted another last-second game winner. Who knew the Suns had to watch out for the Lakers' defensive specialist for the offense? Ron Artest was in the right place at the right time. And now the Suns are 1 loss away from another season loss. And with us to talk about the Suns is the team's pre- and post-game host on KTAR 620, John Bloom. John, after everything that happened in this game, it came down to not boxing out for the Suns. What were the Suns saying about letting Artest in for that game winner?
Well, I think Jason Richardson was the one who, would have been responsible to keep Artest off the glass. And he said, it was just a mistake in judgment. He thought the ball was going to hit the rim. when Kobe took the shot, and so he played it differently than Artest did. Ron obviously just followed the track of the ball, was able to grab it and get the shot up there. If they did it all over again, would they maybe thrown another big in there in that lineup at the end? Potentially, but I think the Suns realized that they just didn't get this done for a number of reasons, not just because of the last shot.
Well, mistakes in judgment certainly can be measured in different ways. Based on what you saw in the locker room after the game, how tough will it be for this team to just get over this and move on?
Believe it or not, Michelle, not very tough. Their mood on the flight home last night was very upbeat. This team knows that now they can compete in Los Angeles should there be a Game 7, and I think they know what they need to do in order to force a Game 7. So they're a pretty confident bunch right now. They've been through a lot. That game was kind of an image of this season of how resilient they've been. They got down 17 in the first half, and they got down 18 in the second half, and we're still right there with a chance, and a great chance to potentially force overtime and maybe get a W. So they didn't get it done, but they know they're still alive. They know there's a Game 6. They know the crowd will be rocking in Phoenix tomorrow night, and they hope that propels them to forcing that Game 7 on Memorial Day.
Well, and John, of course, after dominating Game 4, the Suns bench again outscored the Lakers bench, but this time by just 7 points. What was different about last night?
I think the different thing, Michelle, was that they didn't get it going early, and they didn't really contribute in the first half. You look at that bench output, and all of it, but 2 points that Jared Dudley had in half number one, it all came in the second half. So I think, they need to get it going in the second quarter, obviously being the key. That's when the second unit for the Suns comes in, and they didn't have success in that quarter. I think really when you dissect this series, it's amazing to say this maybe for some people who are onlookers thinking that the Suns had played great in Game 3 and 4 to get wins at home. I don't think the Suns have had a total team effort yet in this series, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that in Game 6.
Yeah, perhaps that is looming. John Bloom, the Suns pre- and post-game host on KTAR 620. John, great to talk with you. Safe flight.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Michelle.